Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, give us my chol, give a smile. Give us my chol, give us my chol, be the reason someone smiles. Siva gedola, lio lio besimcha. Siva gedola, lio lio besimcha. Siva gedola, lio lio besimcha. Siva gedola, lio besimcha. Siva gedola, lio 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 besimcha. Be the reason someone smiles. 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 Siva gedola, lio besimcha. Siva gedola, lio lio besimcha. Siva gedola, lio lio besimcha. Siva gedola, lio besimcha. Someone smile. The reason someone smile. The reason someone smile. The reason someone smiles. The reason someone smiles.
Breakfast with Elli.
Mode ani lefanecha melech chai vekayam shechezarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha.
When the Lubavitcher Rebbe took ill at Shmini Atzeres, he had asked his Hasidim not to take him out of the realm of the 770 for his care. And it was his verbal request that made the Hasidim worry about the doctor's recommendation that he be taken immediately to a hospital because he was plenty sick. They decided to give me a call. Really, they wanted an extra opinion. But I said, if the Rebbe has this type of support of doctors in New York, and I would be willing to come in myself, we could set up a equivalent coronary care unit right at 770 with all the trappings of a full CCU or coronary care unit in a regular hospital. I immediately got on the phone with some of my colleagues who had trained me at Harvard, Dr. Louis Tischholz, one of the heads of cardiology at Mount Sinai, told him this was a very important person for world Jewry. And although he was scheduled to go on a tour of lectures, and he immediately canceled his trip and delegated it to someone else, brought over equipment. He knew exactly what to do. I was really impressed by how Dr. Tischholz had got the Rebbe into a matter of medical stability. After I'd seen the cardiogram, I really was horrified to see what I saw. This was the worst heart attack I've seen in a living person. The Rebbe was already getting his blood pressure back and communicating. The Rebbe asked, "Can I heal from this?" And I said, "It is physically possible. It will be somewhat of a long route."
mit der Sache, was sie Meile min as Mann und min Amoki. Ist Afal Pi, was gefindt sich in Zman und in Moki. Gibt ihm der Eberste die Möglichkeit, soll sich verbinden eben mit Nebesten. Der Gru, was nimmt auf sich, Sofa, in alle Sachen, was verbunden mit Nebesten. Und eben die Kasech in See, wird durchführen den Nebesten Schlichtes.
The heart attack was a very extensive heart attack, and on a scale of 10 it would have been rated as a full 10. But yet, because the Rebbe had a sort of strength of character and drive, and because we didn't dampen his enthusiasm too severely, he went ahead and built himself up in a way that made him effective to his Hasidim and to the world.
They were singing, and the Rebbe didn't look good. And he was leaning his arm on the stender and just clapping like this, which was very unusual, because Simchas Torah, the Rebbe would work the crowd. And the Rebbe would walk around the platform that he stood on to make sure that every side got his attention and was inspired for joy. But the Rebbe looked very, very pale. And he then made the hakafa very quick, and he turned towards the Mizrach, and then he turned around looking for someone. So my father went over to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, "Eibse nit schwer, bring a benkel evgich." So the chair came, and people started to scream, "Wasser, Wasser," to bring water. And Dr. Winch was there. He was a ER doctor from Miami, and he jumped up as well. And he was the first one to say, if I remember correctly, that it's an issue with the heart. Fear and pandemonium gripped us. Fear that something is happening to the Rebbe, and pandemonium, not knowing what to do. And the first reaction was to get everybody out of the shul. But meanwhile, a lot of people ran out, and they broke open all the windows to air. There was a very small crowd that was left, and I wasn't downstairs, whatever happened later, but I heard the Hakafas went. I remember the Rebbe walking up the steps, and perhaps it was a foolish thing, but we were all going nuts. We smensch. We never saw this thing, and we didn't know how to deal with it. And we were so worried, so I hid in the zal, and the door was open a crack, and the Rebbe was walking up the steps slowly. And the Rebbe saw me look, and I don't think he was happy. So I pushed myself away, and the Rebbe went into his room, and he closed the door. The doctors that came in the middle of the night and examined the Rebbe said that this could be major. So my father went into the Rebbe and said, since the Rebbe doesn't want to go to the hospital, Efshel soll man da machen dem hospital. And the Rebbe said, yeah.
A little somber, but everything turned out all right. Breakfast with Elli. Good morning and welcome. It's Thursday, the 24th of November, the 30th day of MarCheshvan, the first day of Rosh Chodesh Kislev. It is the year 5783, the year of Hakel. The Torah portion is Toldos, HaYom Yom Chamishi l'Shabbos, the fifth day, counting up towards Shabbos, and we will be learning the fifth Aliyah. How are you? Good morning. Hi. Rosh Chodesh Kislev. That's right, the Hanukkah month. And it happens to be Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to you all there. We'll talk a little bit later about celebrating Thanksgiving. There are some questions, and I've got some answers for you. So just stick around. We'll take care of everything. All right, everything will be explained and taken care of in its time. All right. First things first. Let's do some mitzvahs. Get some davening in, and the boys and men, please take your front two tzitzis. And let's go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tzitzit.
All right. And now I'll do Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah. Hareini mekabel alai mitzvat aseh shel ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. I take upon myself every single day to love my fellow friend in a very special way.
All right, next is Torah Tziva.
Ay Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha keilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha keilat Yaakov.
All right, let's give some tzedakah.
I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah
Giving
box.
extra
I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else to keep.
All right.
Yeah, I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else in need.
All right, here we go. All right, time for the Shema. Right hand over your eyes. Let's go. Excellent. All right, coffee. All right, coffee and yogurt. Shahakol, ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Shahakol v'hiya b'dvorei. Very good. Very, very good. All right.
Coffee, blessed coffee. God bless you for being a friend. When the whole world turns on me, it's only you on which I can depend. I want to taste you in the morning and a few times throughout the day. Yes, a cup or two in the evening too. For me, it's the only way. Yeah.
Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the 9th month on the Jewish calendar, counting from Nisan. It is best known for its holiday of Hanukkah, which begins on the 25th day of Kislev. The message of Hanukkah is the eternal power of light over darkness, good over evil. Aside from commemorating the miraculous victory of the small Jewish army over the mighty Syrian Greek army, Hanukkah celebrates the miracle of the oil. When we sought to light the menorah in the temple after the war had ended, we found only one small jug of pure oil. Miraculously, that one-day supply burned for 8 days, and the sages instituted the 8-day festival of Hanukkah, during which we kindle the menorah every single night. We also celebrate the redemption of Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the founder of Chabad Hasidism, who had been imprisoned on false charges by the Tsarist regime. These charges were reflective of spiritual charges brought against him for openly teaching the deepest insights of Torah. On the 19th day of Kislev, Yud Tes Kislev, he was freed, paving the way both physically and spiritually to continue teaching Hasidism. And this day is referred to as Rosh Hashanah l'Chasidus, the new year of Hasidism. Today is the yahrzeit of Rabbi Eliezer Yehuda Waldenberg in 2006. He was a well-known contemporary halachic authority who resided in Jerusalem. The halachic decisions that he made are held in high esteem, especially in the field of medical practice. Now, many of these decisions appear in the 22-volume set of his responsa called Tzitz Eliezer, the Fringes of Eliezer. How about that? This is the first of 2 days of Rosh Chodesh. Special portions are added. The Hallel in partial form during Shacharis, the Aliyah prayer in the Amidah and Grace After Meals, and Musaf, the additional prayer. We have the custom to mark Rosh Chodesh with a festive meal and work activity reduction, especially amongst the women who have a special affinity with Rosh Chodesh, as the month is the month has to do with the feminine aspect of Torah in Chassidus. That's a very important thing. All right, and we'll talk more about the Rebbe's recovery tomorrow, but here's something else.
All right, so one wisdom from the Rebbe for today. So today is Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the day that the Rebbe fully recovered after the heart attack of 1977. Now, this is a very joyous day for Chassidim. The Rebbe discussed the idea of Yud Beis Tammuz, the celebration of the previous Rebbe, in a Sikha, which he said that a miracle has a lot of levels in it. There's a miracle which happens to a random person. That's a nice idea, but it's not something relevant to you. Then there's a miracle which happens to your teacher. Something which happens to your teacher is something which is connected to you, but your teacher is not someone who's a part of you. Then there's something which happens to your father. That's a lot deeper connection to you, because your father is really a part of you. You come from him, and therefore that's a much deeper connection to you. But it's still not the same as something which actually happened to yourself. Something which happened to yourself is your memories, your excitement, and therefore when you have that date, it's much greater than everything. But even higher than that, even higher than something which happens to yourself, is the idea of something that happens to the Nasi, a leader of the generation. A person is connected to the leader of the generation, and the leader is your energy. And therefore, it's like something which happened to you yourself. So just like you'd be so happy that something happened to you, something that happened to the leader of the generation is also something which happened to you, because he is your energy. And not only is he your energy, but he's a higher part of your energy, because he's a source of your energy. Just like your head is much greater than your hand. If your head was saved, you'd be much happier than your hand was saved. So too when the Rebbe is saved, it's a day which is much more celebratory for you, even more than something which would have happened to you yourself. And therefore, it's a very, very exciting day, and everyone should say l'chaim k'yom tiv. Alright, so one wisdom from the Rebbe for today. So today is Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the day that the Rebbe fully recovered after the heart attack of 1977.
Sorry about that. Yes, it is. And if you're wondering, I did not speed that up. That's how he speaks, and that's wonderful. All right. Here we are. Yes, there is a special song associated with this day. Let's learn how to play it on the ukulele.
Little smile on your face, Bisimcha. Ay-di-dim bam 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 bam. Di-di-di-di ay ay ay. Bam 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 bam. Di-di-di-di ay ay. Bam 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 bam. Ay ay ay. Bam 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 bam. Lie, lie, la 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 ba da dum bum bye. Oi oi oi, diddy dum, diddy dim, bum bum ba da dum. Hi, Mr. Lavner here, with this week's melody that we're going to learn and write out, and it's called the Kislev Niggin. And today is Rosh Chodesh Kislev, and many celebrate a great rabbi had a wonderful refuah shlema on this day. And this is a song that is commonly sung on this day. And here we go. we're going to need the 9-step staircase. So it's actually, we're going to need even above the 9-step staircase, all the way up to, let's see, step 11. So here's the staircase. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, so we're going to add up there. We're going to keep going. Don't forget, every scale and all of these staircases, they really go on forever. It's 7 notes that repeat over and over again. So after you get to the top step, do, then you want back do. So it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. In this staircase, we have a T flat. So don't forget about that. And here's the song. There's a few parts. Let's get started. Fa, 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 mi, re, do. Fa, 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 mi, re, do. Sol, 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 ti, la, sol, fa. That repeats again. The same thing again. Fa, 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 mi, re, do. Fa, 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 mi, re, do. Sol, 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 ti, la, sol, fa. Next section. Sol, la, ti, 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 la, sol, la, 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 sol, fa, fa, sol, la, ti, 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 hi, re, ti, la, sol, do, re, do, ti, la, re, do. Ti, 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 la, sol, la, 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 sol, fa, fa, sol, la, ti, 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 re, ti, la, sol, re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, fa, fa. Now comes the third section. Part 3. La, do, la, do, la, do, 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 re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, la, do, 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 re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, la, do, 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 ti, re, 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 ti, re, 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 mi, fa, mi, re, do, mi, re, do, la, do, fa, do, 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 re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, la, do, 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 re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, la, do, 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 ti, re, 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 ti, re, 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 mi, fa, mi, re, do, mi, re, do. Then it goes back to the second section. Ti, 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 la, sol, la, 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 sol, fa, sol, la, ti, 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 re, ti, la, sol, re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, fa, fa. That's the whole song. And I'm thinking should play the whole song. Maybe somebody will be nice enough to write this out and put it in the comments for us. Don't forget, we only got to part of this song during class, so if you write out the whole song, I will very happily pay plenty of Lavner bucks. We want to wish a Chodesh Tov and a good week, a Shavua Tov, and a Yom Tov. Okay, all the best. We should have Mashiach now. Bye.
Little smile on your face.
HaYom Yom for today, Lamed, MarCheshvan, the 30th day of Cheshvan, the last day of the month, and the first day of Rosh Chodesh. And there is no HaYom Yom. That's because in the year that the HaYom Yom was written, which was Tafshin Daled, the Rebbe only wrote for that year, and the month only had 29 days. Now, in times of the Beis Hamikdash, every month could be either 29, a Chaser month, or 30, a Mole month days, depending on when we saw the new moon. But without the Sanhedrin, we can't paskin when the new moon should start. So, Hillel from the Sanhedrin set up a calendar pattern that'll work until Mashiach comes. In Hillel's calendar, which we follow today, the months follow a pattern. Nisan has 30 days, Iyar has 29, Sivan has 30 days, Tammuz has 29, but there's an exception. Cheshvan and Kislev can sometimes be 29 and sometimes 30. There's another pattern of 19 years that tells us when they're long or short and which days are leap years. I thought you would find that very, very interesting. I did. All right. We did a Surly Bronzer yesterday. Today we're doing a Chazan Laser Brook for the month.
Lai 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 lam, lai 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 lam, lai 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 lam, lai 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 lam. Rosh Chodesh ki yifneh, yeh beyoyim Chamishi, v'yoyim Shishi. Kol Yisroel letoevo.
All right, good morning. How are you guys? All right, let me get to it over here. The Biden administration launched a critical 6-week push aimed at stepping up Americans' COVID booster 19 vaccinations heading into the holiday season. Now, Biden's chief medical officer, Dr. Anthony Fauci, kicked off the campaign during his final White House briefing before he retires in December. The push comes as more than 35 million Americans already received the updated bivalent booster shot, including more than 16 million seniors. But that is a fraction of the 267 million Americans who received their primary vaccines, according to data from the CDC. The campaign will focus on reaching seniors and more and communities that were hardest hit by the COVID-19 virus, expanding access, increasing awareness, and more. All right, so if you didn't get your booster shot yet, now is the time to go get it. All right, only 10% of the people ages 5 and older have received an updated booster shot, despite 75% of that population having gotten their first 2 shots. All right. A new study said that vaccines among U.S. children could prevent thousands of pediatric hospitalizations and millions of missed school days. Preventing COVID hospitalization would also ease the strain on pediatric hospitals, which have been dealing with an increase in flu and RSV cases for several weeks as the respiratory virus season sweeps the United States earlier than usual. Really? Okay. And now, a word from our sponsors.
And now, a word from our sponsors. PestProRidall.com.
PestProRidall.com. Trusted by the best to keep away the pests. We are offering COVID-19 disinfection services. Mention this ad and get 1 month free service. Visit us at PestProRidall.com.
Tarzane Group. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Go to tarzanegroup.com or call Tomas at 305-440-0565. That's 305-440-0565. And order today. Visit Tomas and Yair at tarzanegroup.com. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Beautiful in your home. Go to the website and read Tomas's orchid blog. And by Dina D Design. DinaDDesign at gmail.com. Fine artwork, custom made to your specifications, logos, wall hangings, Judaica, and you can even have something for your child's room. Dina D Designs. Go to her Facebook or Instagram or call or text. Thank you very much to our sponsors. If you'd like to become a sponsor, please go right up here to where it says patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and you can contribute even only $1 a month if you'd like, but that'll help us bring this broadcast to you on a daily basis and cover our expenses. Be sure to thank your sponsors when shopping and mention Breakfast with Elli when you're shopping there. There might be discounts. Thanks for watching.
Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe.
All right, go to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/tipjar and become a member of our organization today. All right, we are doing Rabbi Dr. Jonathan Sachs' Covenant and Conversation. Here is part 1.
Is love. Unconditional love is not uncritical. A father's love. The boys grew up. Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the outdoors, ish sadeh. But Jacob was an ishtam, a mild man, who stayed at home among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau. But Rebekah loved Jacob. We have no difficulty understanding why Rebekah loved Jacob. She'd received an oracle from God in which she was told, Shnei goyim bevitnech, there are 2 nations in your womb and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. Well, Jacob was the younger. Rebekah seems to have inferred, correctly as it turned out, that it would be he who would continue the covenant, who would stay true to Abraham's heritage, and who would teach it to his children, carrying the story forward into the future. So the real question is, why did Isaac love Esau? Couldn't he see that he was a man of the outdoors, a hunter, not a contemplative or a man of God? Is it conceivable that he loved Esau merely because he had a taste for wild game? Did his appetite rule his mind and heart? Did Isaac not know how Esau had sold his birthright for a bowl of soup, and how he subsequently vayivez et habechorah, how he subsequently despised the birthright itself? Was this someone with whom to entrust the spiritual patrimony of Abraham? Isaac surely knew that his elder son was a man of mercurial temperament who lived in the emotions of the moment. Even if this didn't trouble him, the next episode involving Esau clearly did. We read when Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, daughter of Beri the Hittite, and also Bosmat, daughter of Elon the Hittite. They were a source of grief to Isaac and Rebekah. Esau had made himself at home among the Hittites. He'd married 2 of their women. This wasn't a man to carry forward the Abrahamic covenant, which involved a measure of distance from the Hittites and Canaanites, and all they represented in terms of religion, culture, and morality. Yet clearly Isaac did love Esau. Not only does the verse with which we began say so, it remains so. Genesis 27, with its morally challenging story of how Jacob dressed up as Esau and took the blessing that had been meant for him is remarkable for the picture it paints of the genuine, deep affection between Isaac and Esau. We sense this at the beginning. When Isaac asks Esau, "Prepare me the kind of tasty food I like and bring it to me to eat, so that I may give you my blessing before I die," this isn't Isaac's physical appetite speaking. It's his wish to be filled with the smell and taste he associates with his elder son, so that he can bless him in a mood of focused love. It's the end of the story, though, that really conveys the depth of feeling between them. Esau enters with the food he's prepared. Slowly Isaac and then Esau realize the nature of the deception that has been practiced against them. Isaac trembled violently. Esau burst out with a loud and bitter cry. It's hard in English to convey the power of these descriptions. The Torah says generally very little about people's emotions. During the whole of the trial of the binding of Isaac, we're given not the slightest indication of what Isaac or Abraham felt in one of the most fraught episodes in Genesis. The text is, as Eric Auerbach said, fraught with background, meaning more is left unsaid than said. The depth of feeling the Torah describes in speaking of Isaac and Esau at that moment is thus rare and almost overwhelming. Father and son share their sense of betrayal. Esau passionately seeking some blessing from his father, and Isaac rousing himself to do so. The bond of love between them is intense. So the question returns with undiminished force. Why did Isaac love Esau, despite everything? His wildness, his mutability, and his outmarriages. The sages gave an explanation. They interpreted the phrase skillful hunter, Ish Yodea Tzayid, as meaning that Esau trapped and deceived Isaac. He pretended to be more religious than he was. There is, though, a quite different explanation, much closer to the plain sense of the text, and very, very moving. Isaac loved Esau because Esau was his son. And that is what fathers do. They love their children unconditionally. That doesn't mean that Isaac couldn't see the faults in Esau's character. It doesn't imply that he thought Esau the right person to continue the covenant. It doesn't mean that he wasn't pained when Esau married Hittite women. The text explicitly says he was. But it does mean that Isaac knew that a father must love his son because he is his son.
And we will stop there for today. All right. In the fifth Aliyah, Yitzchak agrees to Avimelech's request, which was to enter into a peace treaty with him. And on that day, Yitzchak's servants informed him that they had successfully dug another well. At the age of 40, Esav marries two wives. Their adulterous ways anguished Yitzchak and Rivka, and Yitzchak had now advanced in age and become blind. He summoned Esav and told him that he wished to bless him, but first he should go to the field and hunt some game for him to eat. Rivka heard this conversation and advised Yaakov to don Esav's clothing and trick Yitzchak into blessing him instead. Rivka prepared meat and gave it to Yaakov to bring to his father. She also took a hairy goat skin, put it on Yaakov's smooth arms and neck. And Yaakov approached his father and presented himself as Esav. And as we all know, Yitzchak ate from the repast that Yitzchak had prepared, that Rivka had prepared. And we'll continue that tomorrow. Right now, Shnayim Yomi.
We are up to Chamishi, the fifth Aliyah on Parshas Toldos. And in this Aliyah we have the very famous story of Yaakov stealing the brachas from Esav, the brachas of Yitzchak Avinu. And after taking the brachas, the last pasuk in Aliyah says as follows, Vayigash vayishak loi. He approached Yitzchak, Yaakov approached Yitzchak, Vayishach lo, and he kissed him, Vayirach reich begadav, and Yitzchak smelled the smell of Yaakov's clothing, Vayivarcheu, and he gave him a bracha, Vayomer rei reich b'ni kareich sada sheberch Hashem. You smell like a field that Hashem has blessed. Rashi says he smelled the smell of Gan Eden on Yaakov's clothing. And that seems very beautiful, a beautiful smell that Yaakov came in with. But the Gemara tells us something very different. The Gemara tells us that the word begadav, Vayorach es reich begadav, he smelled the scent of his clothing. The word begadav can also be read as boigdav. Boigdav means traders. A boged is a trader. And the Gemara says that what Yitzchak smelled was really a horrible smell, a smell of Yidden in future generations that were buried deep inside Yaakov. And these Yidden were going to be horrible traitors to the Jewish people. And the Gemara identifies two specific individuals, Yaakov ish Tzroiros and Yosef Meshisa. These were two Jews who were literally traitors, and they went over to the Roman side in the time of the Churban of the Beis HaMikdash. And the Gemara says a story that they went in when the Romans were trying to go in and take out the Kalim of the Beis HaMikdash. The soldiers kept on dying as they went into the Beis HaMikdash. They would drop dead. They couldn't handle the holiness that was there, until finally they decided, let's send in a Jew. Maybe he'll survive. And they sent in Yaakov ish Tzroiros to go in and to take out the Kalim, and he did. He was in such a low place that he was willing to go into the Beis HaMikdash and take out the Kalim to give it to the Romans. And he brings out some of the Kalim, and they tell him, okay, go back and bring out more stuff. And he says, no, I'm not going back in. And they said, what do you mean? You just went in for us. He said, I'm not doing it again. Sorry. And they said, if you don't do it, we're going to kill you. And he says, I don't care. And they took him, they tied him to the back of a horse, and they dragged him around until he died. And the Gemara says, here is a Jew who was so low, who was so distant, who was a complete traitor to the Jewish people. And yet, when push comes to shove, when the Romans want him to go back in, after he experienced a little bit of Kedusha of the Beis HaMikdash, he says, no, I'm not doing it. And he's willing to give up his life, al Kiddush Hashem. So, although seemingly, if you would have seen him his entire life, there would have been a horrible spiritual stench coming out of him. This is a Jew who is so far from holiness. And yet, if you look really deeply, you would have to watch till the end of his life, when you would see that there is a beautiful, beautiful smell, even in the lowest Jews, that when a Yid is pushed against the wall, the neshama, the pintal Yid comes out, and ultimately a Jew does what's right, and a Jew is willing to give up his life al Kiddush Hashem. And there's a big tzaddik by the name of Levi Yitzchak Barditchev, who very famously only saw the good in every single Yid. And he was once talking to one of the town Rishonim, a Jew who did not have too many mitzvahs, plenty of averos. And he told him, he said, I think his name was Hershela, he said, Hershela, I'm very jealous of you. And Hershela said, Rabbi, you shouldn't be too jealous, because I don't have any mitzvahs, lots of averos. And he said, that's exactly why I'm jealous, because I know you're going to do tshuva, and all of your averos are going to turn into mitzvahs, like the Gemara tells us. And Hershela said, Rebbe, if you think you're jealous now, wait till next week. You'll be even more jealous, because I'll have much more averos. And Reb Levi Yitzchak laughed, and he said, we'll see. And at the end of his life, Hershela called in Reb Levi Yitzchak, and he started to cry, and he said, Rebbe, I wish I would have lived my life differently. And he closed his eyes, and he passed away. And Reb Levi Yitzchak smiled, and he said, I was right. Hershela did tshuva, and all of his averos were now turned into mitzvahs. And that's what it means to be a Yid, that at the end of the day, every Yid is going to do tshuva, is going to return, and is going to smell like that beautiful smell of Gan Eden that Yitzchak smelled on the clothing of Yaakov.
So when Rivka overheard Yitzchak's conversation with Esav, she knew that Yitzchak was about to give the blessing to the wrong son. To stop that from happening, she jumped into action. She called Yaakov and explained the situation. Yaakov said, how can I fool him? My brother is hairy, but I have smooth skin. If our father touches me, he'll realize I'm trying to fool him and he'll curse me. Rivka said, don't worry. The curse will be on me, because your father knows that will know that it was I who told you to do this, and he'll curse me and not you. All right? So somebody asked me why that was allowed. All right. Now Yitzchak heard someone entering the room, but he couldn't see who it was. So Yaakov greeted his father and said, Abba, who are you? He said, it is I, Esav, your firstborn. Yaakov had to lie because Rivka's nevuah, her prophetic command, told him to take the brachas, but he did his best to say the lie in which what was he said is true. He said, it is I. That's true. It was he, Yaakov. Then he said, Esav, your firstborn, which was also true. Esav was Yitzchak's firstborn. Now, Yaakov told his father, please, I have come eat the food that I have brought and bless me. So quickly? How did you manage to hunt down something to eat so fast? Yitzchak asked. Hashem helped me find it quickly. Hearing Yaakov's answer made Yitzchak suspicious. Although he thought to himself, whoever my guest is, he used Hashem's name and spoke politely. That doesn't sound like Esav at all. I'd better make sure it's Esav. So he said, come closer so I can touch you. Are you my son Esav or not? Yaakov realized that his father was suspicious, so he became very afraid. What if his father found out and cursed him? Yitzchak touched Yaakov's arms and felt that they were hairy. It was a good thing that he was wearing that goat skin. Yitzchak was still puzzled. The arms felt like Esav, but he spoke like Yaakov. And he said, the hands are the hands of Esav, but the voice is the voice of Yaakov. Yitzchak was finally convinced that it was Esav. You are my son Esav. Bring me the food that you brought so I can bless you. Yaakov served his father the meal and gave him wine to drink. After that, Yitzchak said, come closer so I can kiss you. When Yitzchak hugged and kissed Yaakov, instead of smelling the awful smell of goat skins, he smelled a nice aroma, which the Medrash tells us was the smell of Gan Eden. And we will continue tomorrow with the actual bracha. Here's Rabbi HaYom Martyr.
Boker Tov. Good morning. We continue with the 3-minute daily dose of Torah. Last we were studying about Yitzchak and his experiences with the Philistines. He just finally gets away from them. It's constant. They are challenged everything that he does, every well he digs, his father's wells, they stuff. When he digs, they challenge and they claim to, and he finally gets away, far enough away, and he digs a well and they don't bother him. So he figures he's in a safe zone. And he names the place Rechovot, not apparently near the place modern-day Rechovot, but that's what you have. And then God appears to him and seems to reiterate to him his receiving of the treaty and covenantal bond with Hashem. And when that's over, he offers he builds an altar, calls out the name of God, and then they have more success there in digging another well. And at that point, Avimelech and an entourage come to him from Gerar. They come to him, and Yitzchak correctly says, "Madua bata melai, why'd you come to me? Atem senetem oti," in a very bitter response. You hate me. Why are you here? Why do you show up with an entourage? You sent me off, right? You don't want me. Why are you here? And they say, well, we saw that God's with you. And let there be a nice treaty between us, and an understanding of a treaty. That's bottom line. It's a treaty. And what does a treaty entail? You should be cursed, because it's not allowed. It's actually a curse in a treaty. A curse should fall on you if you do any evil to us. We didn't touch you. Remember. We only did good by you. Not true. We're pretty awful to him, but they didn't cause him harm in the earlier mess. And we sent you out in peace. So you now should be blessed of God. And of course, the presumption of the treaty is we won't do bad by you either. So and they have a feast and they eat and they drink, and that's how it works. And they take a shvuah. Rashi presumes that they came now because they see that he's got allies, that he could come and attack them, and they're anxious about them, because he's in Elohim, and so now he's nervous. So Ramban says, not exactly that. I don't think he had a reason to fear that Yitzchak was going to come and attack him. and Abraham had made the promises that he made, and that presumably that treaty should continue. Abraham had a treaty with Avimelech, so why the need for any of this? And the answer, he says, is because that treaty was abrogated by Avimelech, and once it's abrogated, the non-violence treaty they had, so we abrogated it by not treating you well. Not going to admit it, but they do. They know that. So now we're afraid that you're gonna feel free to cause us harm. And now that you are stronger, we're worried. So that's how things work in life, right? You have treaties until the treaty doesn't serve your needs, and you are more powerful, and so you abrogate your treaty. And then fates change, and suddenly you desperately could use the protections of the treaty, but you've abrogated it. So in this case, let's just go ahead and make a new one. And Yitzchak is not interested in troubles, and he would rather be at peace with people. And so he does this. This is how it works with nation states. It's also how we work with people around us sometimes, people who are supposedly friends, not friends, and they're with us, and they're against us, and with us. And so we got to make decisions ourselves all the time. Is it worth it to us to try to be in hostilities, or just let it close up and move on in life? That's generally, for most people, that don't matter that much. But it would be helpful not to have him, on top of us. It's worth just making things calm and going on the important things in life. Wishing you all a great day, a peaceful one, and a happy Thanksgiving.
All right. There we go. Fantastic. Let us now do Rabbi Zusha Zilberstein.
We should be protected and blessed from now and forever, as David HaMelech says, and let us put in some tzedakah together. Join me, as I keep on mentioning, Shnas Hakel. Let's do it together. We are told that our patriarchs and matriarchs fulfilled the Torah and the mitzvahs. In fact, on the verse that we find in Parsha of this week, where the Torah says regarding Avram Avinu, Eikev asher shama Avram b'koili, due to the fact that Avram Avinu, God says that Avram listened to my voice, v'yishmor mishmarti, and he guarded mitzvosai, chokoisai, v'toroisai, my mitzvahs, my commandments, my Torah. So the Gemara says, from here the Gemara Kiddushin says that therefore we know that Avram Avinu has fulfilled the entire Torah even prior to it was given. Now let us try to understand what it means. Avram Avinu ate matzahs on Pesach because of the commemorating coming out of Egypt. He's 400 years approximately before that. Avram Avinu is putting on tefillin, and inside the tefillin there are portions of the Torah. The Torah hasn't been given yet. And we could go on and on and on. What does it mean that he did follow the Torah mitzvahs? In fact, as a quick little aside, the word Eikev, since Eikev is spelled Ayin Kuf Beis, which the numerical value is 172. From here, some commentators learn that Avram Avinu followed the commandments of God, the total amount of Eikev 172 years. And from here we learn that at the age of 3, Avram Avinu finally recognized the existence of God, meaning Avram Avinu lived 175 years. At the age of 3, Eikev is when he finally found God. But going back to the performance of mitzvahs, how did they do mitzvahs? In fact, it says that Avram Avinu, on the laws of business laws, of honesty, he had 400 tractates. Now this we can understand. Why? Because laws of honesty in business is extremely wide. So he didn't have exactly the Talmud as we have it today, but he was discussing all the different ramifications and all the different possibilities of what means being honest. And this is an extensive, vast topic. But to say that he actually did the mitzvahs when they were not even available. So as our sages explained to us, that the mitzvahs that Avram, and indeed for that matter Yitzchak and Yaakov and the Shvatim performed, was called reichos, spiritual. Every mitzvah has two dimensions. Has the practical application and it has the spiritual dimension. Putting on tefillin as an example, yes, it takes two black boxes, one for the arm, one for the head. Lighting Shabbat candles, yes, it takes a candle and to light it and say the blessing when the woman does so. Eating matzah on Pesach requires a matzah. Putting on a mezuzah requires a mezuzah, and so on and so forth. So these are the practical application of the mitzvah. But the mitzvah also has a spiritual dimension. As an example, when the woman lights the Shabbat candles, there is a new godly light emanating into this world. When we put on tefillin, we create a balance, an equilibrium between the person's emotions, the heart, where we put on tefillin, the person's brain, and the person's action. It connects us with the godly sphira, the godly chachma, the godly emotions and godly actions, and this is the spiritual dimension of it. And this is true with every mitzvah. So we today have the benefit of having both. Prior to the giving of Torah, they only had the spiritual dimension. So when the Torah says that Avraham Avinu performed the entire Torah, it means in a spiritual realm. Those divine powers, those divine lights which are illuminated by doing the mitzvah in a practical sense today, they had it in a spiritual dimension. So Rabbeinu Shalom, the Beis HaMikdash also, there's the spiritual dimension and the practical dimension. What we want is the physical, concrete dimension down here. Please God, now.
I can't think of anything better to say myself. That's pretty amazing, right? Please Hashem, now. All right. Now we are going on to, where is it? Let's see. Hold on one second. Yes. The name of the Parsha, this might be a new feature here.
Regarding the name of this week's Parsha, Toldos, which means offspring, Rashi tells us that it's referring to Yaakov and Esav, who are discussed in the Parsha. According to Kabbalah and Chassidus, Yaakov represents the soul, while Esav represents the body. The Parsha is named for both Yaakov and Esav, since both have a unique quality for us to learn from. The soul has a natural love for God and godliness, while the body thinks more of its own needs and struggles with its relationship with God. Ironically, when we talk about Hashem choosing us, it's the body we're referring to, and not the soul. Thus, when spending time together, the body and soul get to learn from each other. After following Torah and doing mitzvahs, the soul teaches the body to love God, and it truly does. After all, everything the body enjoys is from God. And the body in turn teaches the soul how to take care of itself and cherish its chosenness. May our bodies and souls always work in harmony, doing what Hashem wants from us, and Hashem will surely bless us with the ability to take good care of our chosen bodies, blessing us with good health, infused with happiness, prosperity, and an abundance of all good things.
Do you like that? I thought that was great. And now, the Chief Rabbi of England, Rabbi Mervis.
Are good deeds valid even when we don't intend to perform them? In Parshat Toldot, Yitzchak declares, Hakol kol Yaakov v'hayadayim yedei Esav. The voice is the voice of Jacob, and the hands are the hands of Esau. Yitzchak was troubled because he was wondering who this person was who was standing in front of him at a time when his younger son Yaakov was actually deceiving him. But notice the way in which letters make a huge difference. Hakol kol, it's the same word, repeated once after the other, but the spelling is different. It's a malay v'chaser, because sometimes a word includes a vav, and sometimes it doesn't. Hakol, the voice, is kuf lamed without a vav, and then kol coming afterwards is kuf vav lamed with a vav. What lesson emerges from this? The Vilna Gaon teaches that actually if you read these terms literally, it becomes hakal kol, which means sound is weak. And how can we understand this? The Rambam in Laws Relating to Pesach answers a fascinating question. What happens if you have somebody who doesn't like matzah, doesn't want to eat the matzah, but those around this person insist that they have to eat it? And so they eat it. They digest it. They have had no intention whatsoever of performing the mitzvah. Does it count or not? And the Rambam says, yes, they have performed the mitzvah. However, elsewhere, in laws relating to the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, the following question is asked. If you happen to hear the sound of shofar, and you have no intention whatsoever for that to be your mitzvah, does it count? During the coronavirus, when we were all under lockdown, I blew the shofar at home for myself and my wife, and then we went for a walk. And it was so beautiful to hear the sound of shofar from so many homes in our area, because people couldn't go to shul. Now, what would have happened had somebody walked past a house, heard the shofar, and then arrive home and think, hey, I've performed a mitzvah, but they didn't have the intention at the time. The Rambam answers that question by saying, you're not yetzer. You have not fulfilled your obligation. So what's the difference, therefore, between matzah and shofar? The Maggid Mishnah answers and tells us, when it comes to a mitzvah performed physically, it is a mitzvah. But when it comes to sound, it is not. And the reason is that physically, that person digested the matzah. You can't argue against that. But when it comes to sound, it's only valid if you concentrate, if you appreciate the meaning of it, and if it therefore uplifts you. The Vilna Gaon's interpretation now makes so much sense and imparts to us a very relevant lesson for our times. It's not good enough to just perform mitzvot mechanically in an active and physical way. We also need to listen. And when we hear about our faith and strive to internalize its values, it needs concentration, it needs appreciation. Gone are the days where belief was just passed down automatically from one generation to the next. Unless we are convinced about what it is we're believing in, there is a danger it could be dropped. Let us therefore strengthen the resonance of our tradition to enrich our lives and to guarantee the continuity of our faith. Shabbat Shalom.
All right, let's move on to Tehillim.
Al Yedei, Amidas Tehillim, the Al Yedei, Amidas Tehillim, the Al Yedei, Amidas Tehillim, Tisoyre Chavatzeles HaShoroin.
All right, chapter 121. Let's sing it together.
Sure.
right, Tanya, for the 30th day, Lamed Cheshvan, the first day of Rosh Chodesh. Invalidated tefillah is superior to Torah studied with a negative intention. The latter is under the sun, meaning it doesn't ascend at all, while the former still ascends to the lower spiritual world. Torah studied with no kavanah at all, however, is not inferior to the breath of the mouths of school children, which ascends because breath is untainted by sin. Even though the children are not studying with kavanah, their learning still rises. Similarly, an adult who is not studying with the proper intention, but whose learning is not tainted by the sin of a negative intention, that also rises above. Very interesting. All right.
No, it's not
Stay for our
impossible
mitzvahs in the
that
Rambam.
ever did say.
Just
study Rambam each and every day. I'll never
Today we study about a fourth type of offering that was brought as an atonement for committing a sin. Positive mitzvah number 72 states that for 4 transgressions in the Torah, one is to bring a korban olev v'yored, the fluctuating sin offering. These were for committing the sins of entering the holy temple while impure, eating sacrificial meat while impure, transgressing one's own oath about mundane matters, and swearing falsely about matters relating to testimony in court. The reason why it was called a fluctuating sin offering was because if one could afford it, he was meant to bring an animal as a sacrifice. If one was of less means, he would bring a bird, and if one was even poorer, he was allowed to bring a flour offering for this atonement.
All right. Matters of Mashiach. All right, today is Rosh Chodesh, the new moon. Just as the moon renews itself every month, each one of us must constantly experience personal renewal. At the same time, we must bring something new into the world. Now, these are related since we experience our greatest personal growth through working to make the world a better place. Shmuel Tzvi.
Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Hope all is well. Today we're celebrating a very, very special day. We're celebrating the day of Rosh Chodesh, Kislev, the new month of Kislev. And there's also something very, very special that happened on this day. Today is the day where the Rebbe was actually recovered and was out of the hospital room, out of his bed, and he would go on to release some of the deepest secrets of Chassidus, some of the greatest light into the world, and sending out thousands of shluchim, emissaries, messengers, other rabbis who are students of the Rebbe to go out into different parts of the world and to illuminate the lives of the Jewish people around them and the righteous Gentiles around them. And this is also the month of Chanukah. We're getting into the month of Chanukah, and we know Chanukah is all about spreading light. And so too, to celebrate this day where the Rebbe was healed, the Rebbe's mission is to spread light with those around us, and that we learned something very interesting from a candle. That a candle is able to keep giving, and not only does it not lose, but it actually gains. A fire's greatest thing is the more it gives, the more it gains. And that's a lesson for each and every one of us in our lives. The more we give, that's actually truly how we gain. And how do we celebrate such a special day? Because it's a day where we know there's so much light being revealed into the world. What do? We know that we have to be besimcha, we have to be happy, we have to have joy. When we're happy, we bring God's light upon us. And what better way to celebrate such a happy day than by being besimcha? And we know that simcha is a powerful weapon to serve Hashem with, to fight evil. How do we do that? Well, the Yetzer Hara, what he sometimes tries to do is tries to bring us down. The Yetzer Hara is connected to darkness. But here's something very interesting. What's the relationship between darkness and light? And the light is also, by the way, connected to the soul, the neshama. So the relationship between darkness and light is interesting because the second what happens when you turn on the light? Immediately the darkness is gone, automatically. There's no battle. The darkness has no chance. Automatically you bring in the light and the darkness flees. So too, and how much more so in our spiritual life. When we find ourselves in a place of darkness, all we have to do is let in the light and automatically the darkness surrenders, is gone. So how do we do that? the way to click in, to really allow the simcha to flow into us is to remember and to know in our mind that Hashem is in charge. That everything that happens around us is the complete control of God. And not only that, but Hashem adores us beyond infinitely more than we love ourselves. So automatically we know that everything He does for us will be a good situation really for us. That will cause us to feel a comfort and a happiness in Hashem, and to feel a happiness beyond logic. When we always need reasons to be happy, oh, I'm happy because of this or that, we're not going to find reasons. But when we're just happy because we're connected to Hashem beyond calculations, we'll experience a joy that we never thought was possible. And then that allows us to serve God with a greater power. So please, let us share this message. Let us share the light with others in this holy, holy new month that we're entering. And B'ezrat Hashem, this month will bring us the complete redemption with the coming of Mashiach. B'ezrat Hashem today. Thank you so much.
All right. Beautiful, beautiful words. All right, our PSAs. All right. 26879. 7 days worth of pantry food and hot meals every day. In Rockland County, it's tomcheshabbos.org. Oh, let me make it so you can see it. tomcheshabbos.org. In Lakewood, it's tomche.org. And in Chicago, it's the Chicago Center Kitchen. And for all your other needs, go to breakfastwithelli.live/soup kitchens. achiezer.org, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. All right? Call them if you need their services. Hatzalah EMS, also available 24/7, 365. Yes, Hatzalah.org in your neighborhood. Miss Askim is available in times of bereavement. Reach out to them, and just one Shabbos, bringing the joy of Shabbos to our youth that may have wandered a little bit away. All right. If you are, I'm dropping, or God forbid, the victim of, or see a hate crime in progress, you must call 911 post haste. All right? And please wear a mask.
Wear a mask. Wear a mask. Is this really much to ask?
Get your vaccines, and that's the important stuff. All right. All right. Let's bring some heaven down to earth. Yes, CJ. Yep, Neil Diamond. There you go. It'll be a while, but it'll be there. All right, I have not seen it yet. I'm not ready to go back to Broadway and sit in a room with 1,000 people. Yep, that's just me. Don't worry about that. All right, bringing heaven down to earth. The source. The light was concealed. The source was not. The source of light is everywhere. Like that. Talk about that more. Come on social media. Any of the Actors Rabbis groups at Clubhouse, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Spotify, Telegram, Twitter, WhatsApp, theactorsrabbi.com, where you can also avail yourself of our life coaching. All right, let's make an after prayer.
Baruch ato Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam boirei nefashos rabois v'chesronan al kol ma sheborasa lachayos boem nefesh kol chai baruch chai ha'olamim.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to my sponsors, Pastor Riddle, Tarzan Orchids, and my Dr. Spitzer. You guys make it all possible. All right? Make it all possible. So thank you so much. If you'd like to become a sponsor, go to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/. You can use this handy QR code right here. Okay? We're going to play a better version of the Rosh Chodesh Niggin for you coming up. I'm so happy. Happy Thanksgiving for those who are celebrating Thanksgiving. As you well know from listening to me for 4.5 years now, we just take the whole Thanksgiving and we move it to tomorrow night, to Friday night. We make a Shabbos Thanksgiving dinner and we invite family and friends. So we're great. We give thanks to Hashem every day for his chesed, his kindness. But there's nothing wrong with celebrating Hashem's chesed. You want to do it tonight? Do it tonight. You want to cook twice? Be my guest, not me. We cook once and that's quite enough. I'm already cooking yesterday for Friday. So, you know how it is. You know how it goes. All right, Rosh Chodesh Kislev. The first day of Rosh Chodesh Kislev. 2-day Rosh Chodesh. It's wonderful. It's exciting. It is Thursday. Yom Chamishi, the 5th day. Go out and do something nice and something good for someone today. In the words of Rabbi Isaac Hamler, revised, have affection for fellow, and Hashem will have affection for you. Do a kindness for fellow. Hashem will do a kindness for you. Draw a fellow close, and Hashem will draw you close to him. Make it a great and glorious day. Rosh Chodesh Kislev Niggin. I'll see you tomorrow. Bring people to watch and listen with you, please.